Hello, fellow dog fanciers, welcome back to another dog video. As I promised last week after my last video, which was called Life with 7 Dogs, a day in the life of my whippets. If you, by the way, haven't watched this yet, you should definitely watch it either before or after this video. I will leave a link in the description. Today's video is going to feature all my dogs one by one, so that you can get to know the characters from my last video a little bit better. Before we get started though, can I just quickly say how grateful I am to those who did subscribe already. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do so now so that you don't miss any hound content and some hot topics that will be coming up. Before we start, I want to say that, as I mentioned in my previous video, I have show dogs. Not all of my show dogs have been to shows, and you will see why throughout the video. And I want to say that shows are very important for people who want to preserve and protect the breeds that we love. But they're definitely not everything, and despite all the trophies and the long champion title lists, my dogs will be pets and companions on the first place. So no matter what, if they at some point decide that they don't like the show ring anymore, it's perfectly fine. If for some reason they can't be shown, that's perfectly fine. My dogs will stay here forever and they will only go to another home over my dead body. Another thing that I wanted to mention before we get into the actual video is that our first whippet, her name was Daira, our absolute heart and soul. She passed away at the very young age of 6 after complications from surgery. This happened 5 years ago, and I will not get into too much detail because I want to keep the video happy. And if I did film this a year ago, as I was actually planning, I planned to start my channel a year ago, but due to some circumstances it didn't work out as I planned. These videos were going to be called Life with 8 Dogs. At the beginning of the year, Bailey, who is the mother of Skylar, Ruby, Jamie and Ivy, and also the sister of Bradey and Cooper, got sick and passed away in the matter of 3 days. It was very sudden, very unexpected, and we do not know the cause of her passing still. All possibilities, all theories of veterinarians, and despite all the testing that we did, turned out not to be. So it was not a virus, it was not a bacteria, it was not poisoning. We don't know what it was. But I thought I'm going to mention that because some of you might be wondering, well, you have 3 young puppies, who is their mother? So to keep it short and simple and to continue on with a happy vibe, this is all I'm going to say about it at the moment. Okay, so let's get into the video and see how 7 dogs from the same breed can be so different from each other. Okay, so let's get started with the oldest one of the pack. The oldest one of the pack is Lacey. And because the only way I can drag her out of her sleep is to do that with some treats, which I'm not going to do yet because you will see what happens when she sees treats. I'm just going to talk about Lacey while she's just staying there just for that little while. So Lacey is 10 years old, she is our second whippet and we imported her all the way from the Netherlands. I saw her when she was 2 days old among all the pictures of her and her litter mates, and I was like, this is going to be my puppy. I don't know why, I just felt so drawn to her. And keep in mind that at that age of 2 days old you can say absolutely nothing about quality, absolutely nothing about the puppy and whether it's a good representative of the breed. So what I did was I communicated with her breeder behind the back of my family, and if you're watching this, don't do this. This is a very bad idea. You first discuss it with your family and then you contact the breeder. But anyway, I did not speak to my family. I took things in my own hands. I contacted the breeder, and after some conversations back and forth, we reached the decision that if she turns out to be a good quality puppy, she was going to come to me. And then in time, I spoke to my family, I convinced them, and when Lacey was 10 weeks old, she came to our house. Lacey was a wild child. She had a litter of puppies. She had 4 puppies. 2 of them live in the United States. 1 of them is in Germany. And the fourth is living in the country where I am at with the Borzoi breeder. And he is the only puppy that I kept within the country that doesn't live in my home. So Lacey had a back injury 3 years ago, which explains her wobbly walk. She likes to walk, she likes to play, but that makes her tired very quickly. So basically all Lacey wants is her peace and quiet. And the other thing that she wants is for her servants to know what she needs at all times. She most of the time stays away from the rest because the rest are very noisy and very active, and she definitely doesn't like that anymore. And what Lacey likes to do is scream for blanket, food, and attention. And this will not stop until you give her what she wants, which is perfectly fine because she's 10 years old and she is supposed to get what she wants. So let me show you what happens when I show Lacey a treat. Okay? Okay? Next year we have Cooper. Cooper will be 8 next month. And he is from our second litter. So his mom is Daira. And his dad is a dog that was born in Finland and lives with someone fantastic in the Netherlands. Cooper is one of the 2 that are not show dogs. Why is that? Because Cooper's tail is way shorter than the tails of the rest. I have no idea if you can see, but you probably noticed in my last video. So Daira's labor was very complicated, and the vet made the mistake of pulling Cooper as the firstborn puppy out by the tail. And you should never do that. You should either grab 2 legs, a tail and a leg, or all 3 before pulling a puppy. But anyway, that's how he lost a piece of his tail. So we wanted to find a good pet home for him. But as time went on, we got very attached, and especially my mom got very attached to him, and he got very attached to my mom. So basically he is my mom's boy, and maybe the only dog that can walk without a leash full time because he doesn't leave the side of her leg. He very much likes to be cuddled. Sometimes you sit on the couch and he comes right next to you, just standing there, not being annoying or anything, but just standing there, and he basically expects some attention. And he is a bit of a weirdo because what excites everyone else tends to offend him. We don't know why that is. He's just a little bit weird like that. Next up we have Bradey. He is Cooper's brother, and logically he will also turn 8 years of age next month. Now when they were little, we did not plan on keeping a male, but he was growing up into this gorgeous puppy, and eventually we couldn't resist. We had to keep him, and so we did. In their litter they had 4 more boys. 2 of them live in the UK, 1 of them is in the States, and 1 of them is in Norway. So Bradey is this always and forever happy-go-lucky no matter what. And perhaps the only bad thing that he ever does is stealing chocolate at 3 a.m. And that's one of the reasons why we lock up the living room at night. No matter how high or secure we think we've placed that chocolate, he manages to find it, take it down, and share it with everyone else. Next up we have Skylar, and Skylar is 6 years old. Actually, just a few days ago she had her 6th birthday, and she is what I like to call a frozen puppy because her litter was sired by a dog that lives in the States. And of course, it's way easier to use some frozen material than to fly to the States with a female dog, or at least that was what was easier for us. So Skylar is a forever baby and she will always be the forever baby. She has been to 2 shows, and on her second show she was attacked by a dog from a breed which I'm not going to mention because I don't want to give a bad name to a breed just because of one incident. And there was no physical damage, but the mental damage stayed forever, so she wants nothing to do with a place full of dogs, which is perfectly fine. She is happy just as things are. She's also a fantastic puppy sitter. And one thing that she does, which is kind of annoying, but we're used to it, is she destroys the beds. So we can't really have our beds tidy and beautiful all day because she will go burrow under the sheets and destroy the bed. And I also forgot to mention that Skylar has 2 brothers. Both of them live in the Netherlands with fantastic owners. Next you will see Ivy, Jamie and Ruby in that order. I know it's very hard to believe that they're sisters, let alone from the same litter. They're also the so-called frozen puppies. So first, here we have Ivy, and Ivy is probably the most innocent among all of them. I have this personal scale of mine. Would they survive in the forest? Now, of course, no one is going to let them um, try and survive in the forest, and on that scale, she would never survive in the wild. When someone steals her toy, she just cries about it. And she also cries when she is hungry, which usually happens somewhere in the middle of the night. And also when someone steals her favorite spot, and that's usually one of her sisters, she's too afraid to take it back because she thinks she will have her butt beaten up. So she goes and cries to some human, hoping that they're going to pick her up and bring her to her favorite sleeping spot, because she knows that in the presence of a human, no arguments will happen. And you probably remember her from my first video. She was on my thumbnail as a little puppy, and she was also in the video for a little bit. And we managed to do some showing with Ivy, and luckily she finished her junior championship right before the COVID-19 state of emergency happened. Next up we have Jamie. Jamie's personal space is to be very respected by everyone. I know you cannot see this right now, but that is just a fact. She is a very dramatic little monkey, especially when it comes to nail trimming. And among her sisters, she's probably the laziest. And we also did some showing with her. However, we only managed to do that in minor puppy and puppy class. Hopefully, when shows are back, we will still be able to do some showing in junior class, but if not, we will survive somehow. And last but not least, we have Ruby here, and she is probably the tiniest out of everyone. But don't get fooled by this little face, because she's definitely the bossiest. And while she's very respectful towards humans, she's very disrespectful towards the rest of the dogs, and that's why she likes to cause a lot of chaos. She never ever stops, and most of the time when everyone else is sleeping, she is out and about being very busy because she always has a lot of work to do, and all the holes in the garden are thanks to her hard work. And now you've met all my 7 dogs. Would life be easier with 2 dogs instead of 7? Probably. But would it be as fulfilling as it is with 7 dogs? I don't think so. And of course, this would not work for everyone. For some people, 1 dog is enough, and for others, that number would be 15. So everyone should decide for themselves and should maintain a number that will not compromise their own comfort and the welfare of their dogs. If you haven't subscribed, do so now because we're having some very exciting topics coming up. So as always, thank you so much for watching and I will see you in my next video. Bye bye!